Hi, Steve Kaufmann here. Today I want to talk about goal setting in language learning. It's important, and I think the way we set goals depends on our level in the language. I'll give you an example from my own language learning. Recently, I decided to work on my Portuguese, and particularly to expose myself to more Brazilian Portuguese. So I found some interesting lessons in our library at LingQ, one wonderful series of 20 lessons by one of our members about her travels in Italy with her friend. I graduated from that to reading some novels, for which I also had the audiobook in Portuguese, and it was again in a Brazilian accent. And then I found some wonderful podcasts from Brazil, which I've been listening to and enjoying. So the whole thing is very enjoyable. It's easy. I do what I want, when I want, and I know I'm improving. No need for sort of very specific short term task type goals. But if I look at languages where I'm not as far ahead, for example, Korean, then I have to take a much more deliberate approach. Now, if we look at language learning, there is this common European framework of reference, and I'll leave a link in the description. And it divides the levels of proficiency into 6 levels: A12, B12, and C12. So 6 levels. My view is increasingly that to get to the halfway point, which may or may not exactly be the halfway point, but it's to do the first 3 of those levels. Once you've done that, you basically get to a point where the learning can become a more natural, enjoyable flow type experience. But to get there, particularly the first step, the beginner's stage, A1, A2, you're really fighting it, looking up every word, forgetting it. The structure of the language is strange. It's very difficult. Even when you are low intermediate or B1, and you're now accessing authentic material, but you're still having to look up words, and there's still things that are fuzzy, and you can't yet express yourself the way you would like. So it's still that struggle stage. Once you get past that, once you're a high intermediate and going forward, now you can improve your language through this massive exposure to interesting content that you can find on the internet: audiobooks, books, newspapers, podcasts, meet with friends, meetups, talk, all these sort of things that you do when you feel like it and you just enjoy the language. So you learn through enjoying. But for the first 3 steps, it's actually heavy lifting. And with the heavy lifting, it's very important to have specific, measurable tasks. And so with my Korean, starting in September, I'm going to do another 90-day challenge. And I'm going to set myself very specific goals for those 90 days. I'm going to make sure that I read 450,000 words of Korean, which is divided by 90 days. What is that? 5,000 words a day. And I'm going to listen to the same content. I mean, we have content in our library at LingQ, that podcast that I had transcribed that I've been meaning to get at, and I'm going to do them systematically, even though they're difficult for me. And I'm going to save, I think in my mind is something like 20,000 words and phrases that I'm going to save. And I expect that this is going to increase my at least passive vocabulary by another 30,000 words. You divide that by 90 and you get whatever the number is. I'm not going to do it in my head right now. So I'm going to set myself those very specific targets, because it's like if I'm exercising, I have a general goal. I want to be more fit, or I want to maintain my fitness level. But if I say, okay, you're going to do these exercises, you're going to do 20 push-ups, 3 sets of 20 push-ups, you're going to lift this weight and that weight, you're going to do your core exercises. You have a very specific regime. I don't have to think about what I'm going to do. I just have these specific tasks that I have to achieve. And I think the same is true for language learning. And after all, and of course that's why at LingQ we introduced these the activity index, these measurements. And it's mostly a measurement of your level of activity. If you can force yourself to be active, to put the time in, just as with exercising, you will achieve results. Some people may achieve more results, some fewer in some areas than in others, and so forth. But you're forcing yourself to do it because you have identifiable tasks that are measurable. So That's what I recommend you do when you're in that heavy lifting stage. And that's what I'm going to be doing with Korean. And my hope is that all this heavy lifting is going to take me to past that breakthrough point in the language so that I can start just enjoying my Korean the same way that I enjoy my Portuguese right now. So, thank you for listening. Bye for now.